Okay. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back to our English class. A warm welcome to our online discussion on pronunciation. I'm really glad that you are here. I hope you're also glad that you're here learning for for a continuation on our topic on introduction to English sounds. Now, to review, again, this week, these past few meetings, we did start with our subtopics on pronunciation because the previous meetings before that we focused on different vocabularies in different settings. So here, in our following sessions, our focus would be on pronunciation. So as to also make sure that we focus on that part. Okay? So there will be plenty of subtopics that you're going to learn and I am going to discuss to you in different sessions. The first one would be the introduction to English sounds. It's very important that we introduce the we did an introduction. We will do an introduction about pronunciation so as to really understand as to why we are learning. You are learning about this one. Okay? Now, here, again, an introduction to English sounds. The focus is introducing the concept that English has a distinct sound system. We explain the difference between letters and sounds, and then we are going to also briefly introduce the IPA as a universal tool for understanding and transcribing sounds, focusing on its utility for self-correction and understanding dictionaries. No, we will use simple, familiar words that that would be an example that would be an example to introduce basic IPA symbols if possible. I'm going to introduce you everything about the IPA symbol because IPA symbol is a very important part of pronunciation, not just in English language, but also to all languages. Okay? All right. Now, in this part, you're going to be in this session, we're going to continue with this particular topic, no? Since we've already done some introduction, the basic ones. Again, here you are going to learn about introduction to English sounds as well as the IPA. Okay, so here, let's review. No, let's do a review on what you've learned the past few sessions. So, of course, we've learned why pronunciation is really important. Do we remember the reason? Do we remember the reason, anyone? Why do you think is pronunciation important? There are plenty of reasons I've provided, but of course, you can also make one. No, it's not just boxed into the reasons that I've provided, but I just provided those reasons, so as to also see if we have the same thoughts, same reasons, sets of reasons. Anyone? But anyway, let me just quickly check my audio and my PPT or my presentation if it is working on your end. Okay, for a moment. Okay, I'm back. It's all good. But I think the mic, let me just check. Hello. It's a little bit, it's a little bit low, but you can still hear me. Hello. Hello. For a moment.
Okay. Hello. Ah,
Okay. Continuing again, why is pronunciation important? We've discussed about this in our previous session, actually in the first session of this topic on Introduction to English Sounds and IPA. Pronunciation is important because of intelligibility. I'm just going to read this one because I've already done a discussion on this one. You can go back and watch the stream for this one. Intelligibility, clarity of meaning, confidence. So, intelligibility, people understand you easily. Clarity of meaning, you avoid confusing similar sounding words. Confidence, you feel more comfortable speaking English. Effective communication, your message and feelings come across clearly. Listening skills, you better understand native speakers. Credibility, your speech sounds more professional. Social connection, you connect with others more smoothly. So those are the different reasons that I've provided. But then again, I've also mentioned that we have different reasons. Maybe we have the same reasons, one of this, two, three, four, or all. We have same ideas. But here are just some of the things that I've mentioned. Okay. After that, you've also learned that English alphabet has 26 letters from A to Z, but it has 44 sounds across vowels and consonants. But see, vowels, there are only five vowel letters in the English alphabet, but there are 19 vowel sounds in English language. Imagine, that's almost four times of the number of its vowels. So that's how difficult or complex English language is when it comes to pronunciation because it is not one is to one, meaning one letter has only one sound, no? Just like Spanish, has one vowel letter has only one sound. But here in English, there are 19 vowel sounds for five vowel letters. A, E, I, O, U. So these five vowel letters has multiple sounds in English. Okay? So that's what makes it complicated. And then for 21 consonant letters, there are 25 consonant sounds. So we can assume, um, not assume, but yes, there are consonant letters that has only one sound. Now there are just some of which that has multiple sounds. So what makes the pronunciation of the English language trickier is the vowel themselves. Because again, there are only five vowel letters in the English language, but there are 19 vowel sounds in total, under which we have six short vowel sounds. There are also six long vowel sounds, five R controlled vowel sounds, and two diphthong vowel sounds. For consonant side, again, there are 21 consonant letters, which has 25 consonant sounds, under which we have 18 consonant sounds and 7 digraphs sounds. So, no, imagine there are only 26 letters, but there are 44 sounds. This is what makes it really tricky because some of the pronunciation of the words in English language, um, it just it this is just pronounced it is just pronounced that way just because. Like there's no particular rule, there's no particular pattern or process that is followed. It is just really pronounced that way. So what you're going to do is to just remember how this particular word is pronounced because you cannot remember a specific rule that you need to apply to really remember how this word is pronounced. No, you just have to memorize it on its own. Okay, so that is 26 letters, 40. That is 40, 26 letters, 44 sounds of the English language. Again, this is what makes the language really tricky. Okay. Now, this one. When it comes to this one, again, there are also different rules when it comes to reading words, of course. Say, for example, island. Again, the first word is island. Notice that the very first thing that you would notice upon reading this word is that there is a silent word. I mean, letter. There is a silent letter. What letter? Letter S. No, when it comes to silent letter, we do not pronounce it at all. Meaning, it's more of like a design in that particular word. You have to spell it out. It is part of the spelling of the word, but it is not part of the pronunciation of the word. Okay, so that is island, flower, honest, beautiful. No. So that is, these are different words that we know. Now, why English sounds different? In English, what you see isn't always what you hear. So this is what I'm talking about. Um, what how the word is spelled out does not does not necessarily or immediately mean you will follow it when it comes to pronouncing the word. Because again, remember, there are 26 letters in the English alphabet, but there are 44 sounds for it. That is why it is really not that easy to read a word in English, especially if you don't know the word at all. Because we don't know if this word should be pronounced this way or that way because of how tricky it is. Okay? So every language has its own sound system, how it uses the sounds to make words. So again, here English has a specific sound system, but it's often confusing because letters are what we write and see, which is the alphabet. Sounds are what we speak and hear. In English, letters and sounds often don't match up directly because, again, there are 26 letters but 44 sounds. So, this makes the pronunciation really, really challenging. Okay? So, the core issue, and this is the most crucial part, is the one that is mentioned there in English. Letters and sounds often don't match up directly. This makes pronunciation challenging. Why did this mismatch happen? Well, English has a fascinating history. It is a language that has borrowed heavily from many other languages over hundreds of years, from Latin, from Greek to French and Norse, and many, many more. So when words were borrowed, their spellings often came along with them, of course. But over time, the way native English speakers pronounce things changed. The spellings, however, often stay the same, leading to this fascinating and sometimes, frustrating disconnect between how a word looks and how it sounds. So that's a little bit of history as to the reason why the words and how it's pronounced doesn't match at all, because English is really built up on different languages, and over time, English people, the native English speakers, they changed how they pronounce the word, but the spelling is usually left out. That is why, in the beginning, this particular word is really pronounced as how it looks like, but because of the pronunciation changes, the sound and what we write and see and what we speak and hear doesn't match at all. So if you've ever felt confused trying to pronounce an English word just by looking at its spelling, know that it's not your fault. It is because of this historical development. So this is precisely why we can have 26 letters but around 44 distinct sounds. Each letter simply has to work harder and be more flexible, representing different sounds in different contexts. Okay? So understanding this is really fundamental because, of course, it means you can stop trying to force English pronunciation to fit a one letter, one sound rule, and instead you can focus on learning the actual sounds themselves. It shifts our learning strategy. Instead of guessing based on spelling, we learn to recognize and produce the distinct sounds of English. This awareness is the first and most vital step toward improving your clarity and confidence. So, the concept the concept, the distinction between letters and sounds is exactly why Our next topic on this one, no, a continuation of the topic where we introduce the International Phonetic Alphabet will be so helpful because the IPA, this particular chart gives us a tool that focuses purely on sounds, bypassing the tricky spellings. But we're going to talk about that later on. Okay, let's continue with this one. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Key point, one letter can have many sound. Key point one. So there's a mismatch between letters versus sounds. One letter can have many sounds. The same letter can be pronounced differently. For example, the vowel letter A is also pronounced in a word cat as a, father as a, came as a, no, which is a diphthong. Next, many letters can make one sound. For example, for the F sound or the sound, that kind of sound, it can be pronounced or it can be written as different ways. Of course, the first one is the letter F, using the letter F itself for fish. Uh, we can also use PH, which is phone, as an example, and also GH, like enough. So that's what makes it tricky because different letters or combinations of letters can make the same sound. And then counting letters versus counting sounds. Sometimes they match. Some words have the same number of letters and sounds. For example, the dog. It has three letters, but and also three sounds. Dog, three sounds, meaning there is a sound of letter D, as in D. Next is O, and then last one is G. So there are three sounds for that, and it has also three letters. So there's no possibility that some words really match. And then for another example is desk. Four letters, four sounds. Key point two, often more letters than sounds. Many English words have more letters than the sounds we actually hear. For example, coffee, six letters but only four sounds. No? There are two F's, but it only produces one sound. Same with letter E. No, there are two E's, but it only produces one sound. Another example, teacher. Teacher has six letters, but only four sounds. I know. Shopping. It's the same with coffee. Shopping, eight letters, but only five sounds. For example, the SH, it only produces one sound as sh. And then also P and P, it only produces one sound as well as NG. No, anise letters on the spellings of the word that only produces one sound for the word. Not unnecessary. Some could be, no, just like with coffee, we can just use one F. But when it comes to shopping, like SH, it is really necessary to pair that one, okay? Because it produces a distinct sound, like NG also. Next, also hidden sound. Sometimes the sound is produced even if it's not clearly written. So in use, you start with with a Y sound. That's a Y sound, huh? This one. This one. You can highlight it. Okay. That is the IPA transcription for the Y sound or the E sound. Okay? So that's the IPA transcription. So that you are not going to confuse it with letter J. Yes, the letter that's used for this one is letter J, but the pronunciation that is referred to this one is the letter Y. Okay? So it starts with a J with a Y sound like that is written. No, it's not written in the word, but it starts with a letter Y sound. Use. No? Use. Onion often includes a Y sound after the N. On, yon. There's also a letter Y sound there. So there are hidden sounds. Okay? And then, okay, those are different things that you need to consider. No, those are the things that really makes up the difficulty of learning the pronunciation of different English words or vocabulary. Okay. Now it's time to practice. Do we have any questions? Now it's your turn. Everybody have any questions? I hope we are all clear. If there are any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Again, I am reminding this every session. You can always use our live chat, no, our chat here in stream to give any kind of responses that is related to our discussion. It could be a question. No, I would be very happy if you want to clarify something so as to really see that you wanted to learn this one and that a wrong concept will not be integrated into your mind forever. If not a question, maybe a comment, a comment, an additional input about this one, or maybe you wanted to share your experience. No, I would also gladly read that. I am constantly checking the live stream for any kind of responses. So I will always recognize any kind of comment as long as it is related to our discussion. Okay? Again, do we have any comments? Do you have any questions? None. I believe none. Okay, I think none. Okay, everyone. Now the slide says it all. Your turn. Time to practice. Now we've explored some really key ideas today about English spelling and sounds. Now it's time to put that knowledge into action. Let's move on to our practice activities. Are you ready? There will be again here there will be multiple words that will be provided to you. There will be 5 words in total. Okay. I hope everybody is ready. Let's do a quick breathing exercise to start our practice time. Okay. On my cue, inhale, exhale. Again, inhale, exhale. Okay. 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 We are all ready. Let's start with the first word. Okay. Practice drill. Now, there are two guiding questions that you need to answer. First, how many letters does it have? Not the word. And then, second, how many sounds does it have? Now, let's go back to what we did earlier. This one. Okay, this one. For example, coffee. The word coffee has 6 letters but only 4 sounds, something like that. So you put 6 letters and then 4 sounds if it has for coffee, for the word coffee. So that's what you're going to do for the practice time. Okay, let's go back. Again, our word is phone. How do you pronounce this one? Phone. So how many letters does it have? How many sounds does it have? On your cue, I will be giving you 30 seconds to answer. Okay, go. Okay, time's up. Time's up. Again, our word is phone. So you already have a clue how this particular word is pronounced. So your responsibility, your task is to identify the letters. How many letters does it have? And also how many sounds does the phone have? So what is your answer? Again, the word is phone. What is your answer, everybody? You can share your answer in our live stream, okay? So, here again, we are going to apply everything we've talked about regarding letters versus sounds. So, look at the word prominently displayed on the slide, phone. So, again, the questions you need to consider are the amount of letters and sounds. No, you count them carefully and you try to say the word aloud and listen closely to each distinct sound you make. So take a moment to think about that one and let's see. No, let's see how many letters and how many sounds are there. Okay. Let's reveal the answer and see how well you did and more importantly, understand why the numbers are what they are. Okay? Okay, that one. This is our answer. So as the slide shows for the word phone, how many letters are there? There are five. So if you count them, P, H, O, N, E. Or one for P, two for H, three for O, 4 for N, and 5 for E. So again, there are 5 letters in the word. Now that's clearly 5 individual letters. So this is the easy part, right? It's very easy because you're just going to literally count each letter. So there are 5 of it. Now when it comes to sounds, no, there's only one syllable. When it comes to a syllable, how we pronounce the word, for example, phone, phone, that's only one syllable. Okay, so here, the difference is, syllable and sound is also kind of different, because here sound refers to the sounds that the letters make. Now, this is where our understanding of the letter sound mismatch comes in handy. When we say phone, we actually make only three distinct sounds. So let's break them down. No, here. This is what the three sounds. So in here, the first sound is the letter F sound. Which one? What do you think is which of the letters in the word makes the F sound? Which of this? Which of the following? That is the PH sound. Okay, remember in our example earlier, which one is it? This one. Many letters can make one sound, meaning 1:1 is not applied in English language because there are different letters or combinations of letters that can make the same sound. Our example is the letter F sound or the sound. No, the first example is F, and then the second example is PH. So this is the word phone is already here. So if you remember this one, of course, you can answer it. No? Again, the word is phone. And the word phone starts with the letter F sound, which is produced by combining the letters P and H. No? P and H produces the F sound. How about the so that is the again the first sound is the letter F sound or the sound. This comes from the combination of PH. Remember, our many letters can make one sound point. So that is the thing that I've, provided you earlier. So PH is a perfect example of 2 letters forming a single sound. Now, the second sound here, so we already have F. The second sound here is O sound. Again, the second sound is O sound. Now, this one, okay, I'm gonna highlight it. That one, that is the O sound. Now, O sound is what we call diphthong. Again, O sound is what we call diphthong. Now, what is a diphthong? Let me just. Okay. Again, this is a diphthong. Diph, sorry, diphthong. Okay. That one, okay, I'm just gonna put this one here, huh? This is PH. This is diphthong. But the letter that is used is O. So again, this is PH, and then the first one is PH for F sound. The second one is O for letter O sound, which is a dip. As you can see here, no, in the pronunciation, actually it's letter O only. Hmm. Yeah. Diphthong meaning there are, a combination of two vowels. So that is a diphthong. No, as you can see here in the transcription. Okay. So again, that is the second sound. That is the O sound. This is the long O vowel sound, often called diphthong. Like in go, uh, boat. No, there's O sound. There's a diphthong sound. So it comes from the O in the phone. Okay. So again, what is a diphthong? That is a combination of two vowel sounds, usually a long vowel sound, just like O. You can see it in the transcription, no? That is two vowel sounds. Okay. So that is the second that is the second sound. But there are actually three sounds, right? So what is our last sound? That is the letter N sound, or the sound of N, which sounds like mm. Again, mm. So you put your tongue above or at the roof of your mouth and pronounce it with voice, no, with vibration. Mm. So it's nasal actually. Mm. You feel a vibration here, no? Mm. So that is the third sound. So again, the third and the last sound is N, N sound, which comes from the letter N. Now let's see. Okay, let's see. Again, there are five letters P, H, O, N, E, but there are only three sounds F, O, and N. Remember, in our okay, this one, that many English words have more letters than the sounds we actually hear. So letters has more counting than the sounds usually, no, often. But there are also sounds that no, it matches, no, it has the same number of letters and sound like dog. Three letters, three sounds, but often more letters than sounds. Phone is an example of that. No, there are five letters but three sounds only. So we've already talked about the PH for F. That's the first sound. O for the second sound and N for the third sound. How about letter E? Hmm? How about this one? Why is it not part of the sound? Because again, what is the pronunciation of the word? That is phone. It's not phony. No? If we say phony, then that is where the letter E sound is counted. But again, the pronunciation of the word is phone. So it's not counted. Meaning, what do we mean by this one? It means that the final E letter is silent. Again, the final E letter is silent. So this is another excellent example of a silent letter where a letter is written but not pronounced. Again, it is part of the spelling but it's not part of the speaking. So we do not say phony. Okay, we don't say phone, phony, or phony. No, none of which. So the E at the end influences the vowel before, but it doesn't make its own sound. So again, in phone, so again here, the letter E is a silent letter. This one. So PH makes one F sound, as mentioned here in the explanation. PH one makes one F sound. Again, this is a common digraph where two letters represent a single sound, and the final E is silent. It is part of the spelling, but it is not part of the sound. Okay? So again, in phone, we have five letters but only three sounds. This word is a fantastic illustration of both many letters can make one sound, with PH and more letters than sounds due to the silent E and the PH digraph. So this is just the first one, no, everybody. This is just the first word, but it's already kind of difficult, no. Actually, the letters, no, how we counted the letters is the easy part, but how we counted the sounds is the, a bit of difficult, no. It's kind of difficult when it comes to that because we cannot know for sure unless we know the pronunciation of the word. No? Because what if you don't know the pronunciation of the word and you assume that this word, no, is pronounced as phony? Then of course you're gonna say that there are five letters but four sounds, being F, that's one, O, second one, N, third one, and E as the fourth one. So that they would be very wrong because in the first place, how can you count the sounds of the word if you don't know how the word is pronounced? So it is very important that when it comes to this one, you know the word how is pronounced. You know how the word is pronounced. Okay? So that's why I am giving you hints, no? I explicitly um I explicitly say the word, know how it is pronounced for you to get the idea. Ah, so this word is only three sounds. These are the sounds. F, O, N, something like that. Okay? So that you can really focus on the sounds itself, no, and identifying how many sounds are there and is um why is there a letter that is not making any sound, or why is it as ph is making an f sound. So you will focus more on the rules part, not the rules of the word, not just the pronunciation itself. But of course later on it is very important that you will know the pronunciation of the word, because I will not be always there for you to give you the idea of how this word is pronounced. Okay, aside from our discussions, there are also multiple resources online in which you can search, no? In one click away, you can search the pronunciation of a word, no? And by then, you can know how many sounds is produced or are produced in this word. Okay? So this is the first word. Let's move on to the second one. Again, the word is phone. Five letters, three sounds. Next, no. Again, the word is no. You have 30 seconds to answer. Go. Okay, time's up. Okay. All right, fantastic. Another practice drill to really test our understanding here is we have this time our word is no. Just like before, I want you to consider these two questions. How many letters does it have? And how many sounds does no have? Okay? So, great effort in no. Excuse me. So this word is a classic example of English's unique spelling sound relationship. So let's break it down and see the answers as presented on the slide. Now, for the word no, before I present the answer, what is your answer, everybody? Again, the word is no. How many letters does it have? How many sounds does it have? Okay, you can just comment it down, okay? This is the answer. So again, the word is no. So let there here there are how many sounds? I mean how many letters? There are four. Why? Let's count the letter. One for K, two for N, three for O, and four for W. No. So there are four letters. K N O W. That's a straightforward four letters. Now, when it comes to sound, oh, so same with phone, no, same with phone, the sounds, the number of sound is a little bit, you know, um, it has, it's a little bit lower than the number of letters. So here, how many sounds are produced? Two. There are two sounds. So now this is where the magic or the mismatch happens. When we pronounce no, we actually only produce two distinct sounds. So let's look at the explanation. K is silent, O makes one sound. So the slide tells us that K is silent. Okay. Okay, this one. So the first letter of the word is silent. This is a very common silent letter pattern in English, especially at the beginning of words followed by N, meaning this particular combination at the beginning, it is common that you don't speak the letter K. There is no K sound here. So we do not say K no, but we say no. No? Say for example, another example is knife. Remember how the knife is spelled out? It is like this, knife, right? So it also starts with KN, and K is not pronounced. Same with no. Another is knock, also knee, no? So there is a KN combination at the beginning, and the one we are going to pronounce is letter N only. So we completely skip the K sound. Okay? So again, the K is silent. And then O makes one O sound. So this is the long O vowel sound, often a diphthong, same with in the phone, similar to the sound in go or snow. So the O and W together, this one, O and W together form a single unit, no single sound unit. So they are combined to make one sound. So again, there are only two sounds for the word no. First is N. First is the N sound. Again, the sound is N. So the first is the N sound. For a moment. Okay, the first is sound. There are no letter K sound here, okay, because it is a silent letter. And then the second one is a diphthong. Again, remember what is a diphthong? That is a combination of two vowel sounds. Usually produces a long vowel sound. Here, what is the long vowel sound? That is the O sound, okay? So this one, this sound, O sound, is produced by combining letters O and W. So again, K is silent. So we only have two sounds but four letters. So in no, despite having four letters, K, N, O, and W, you only have two distinct sounds. No. Okay, so this word beautifully illustrates two of our key points from today: the presence of a silent letter and how a combination of letters can form a single sound, leading to more letters than actual sounds. Okay, all right. Excellent work in our last practice word. Now for another one. Our next word for the practice drill is read. Again, read. Take a moment to consider the questions. How many letters does read have? How many sounds does read have? Say it aloud, listen closely, and then share your counts. What are your answers for read? I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to answer. Go. Okay. Time's up. All right. Time's up, everybody. So, what is our word here? Read. Okay, great effort on read. So, this is another really good word to practice identifying distinct sounds versus individual letters. Okay. What is your answer for read? How many letters are there? This is the easy part. How many letters are there in read? There are, okay, we count it. No, we count it together. One, two, three, four. So there are four letters in the word read. So one for R, two for E, three for A, four for D. So again, the word read has four letters. R-E-A-D. No, that's a straightforward letters. How about for sounds? How many sounds are there that you've provided? Read. How many sounds? Okay, let's see the answer. Okay. Again, there are only four letters. No, there are four letters, R-E-A-D. But here, there are only three sounds. So, meaning that the number of letters is still higher than the number of sounds of the word read. So, again, there are how many sounds? There are three sounds. Now, let's break down the sounds and read to see why it has only three distinct sounds. The first sound is the R sound. Oh, that one, you roll your tongue to make that sound. No, the letter R sound. So in here, the first sound is R, the letter R sound, or the R or R sound. Okay, so that is the first sound from letter R. Now the second sound, by the way, everybody, this one, no, the one put in these diagonal lines, this one, okay, that is that is an IPA transcription. Next meeting, you will know what is an IPA transcription. It's very important that we talk about it. No? So here, it also is, it's also still um, focused on pronunciation. It is a very important tool. Okay. Now here again, this the first word or the first sound is an R sound or R sound. R sound. The second sound is the E sound. E sound. Again, E sound. This is the long E sound, like in sheep or tree. So the slide's explanation here is that EA makes one E sound, long E, meaning that this one, the second sound, is produced by combining the two letters, which are the E and A sound. But note that these letters are not, yeah, you can see that there is a combination of two vowel sounds. I mean, two vowel letters, but it is not a diphthong. Because when it comes to diphthong, the two vowel combination is on the sound itself, not just the letter, not the spelling of the word. So not all times when you see two letters beside each other, pronounced as one, you say, that's a diphthong because there are two vowel letters, no, and pronounced as one. No, that is not a diphthong. Okay, it's usually the diphthong is very focused on how two vowel sounds is combined. Okay, so there are two vowel sounds. No, you can see it. So this one, E, this is a very common vowel digraph where two letters work together to create a single long vowel sound. And that is the second sound. And finally, the letter D sound or the D, D. That is the D sound. So that is our third sound. So for the word read, we have four letters, but only three distinct sounds. The three distinct sounds are R, E, and D, which is which if combined we will have read. R, E, D, read. Okay, read. So this word perfectly illustrates how multiple letters can combine to form one single sound, leading to more letters than actual sounds, just like we discussed earlier. Okay, so that is our third word. Okay, we continue with another word because there are five words, so we have two more to go. So This one is a real challenge, but it's a great test of everything we've covered today about silent letters and combined sounds. So the fourth word is a little bit tricky. No, it's longer. And if you know this word, how do you pronounce it? This one. Now, this is also tricky when it comes to pronunciation because you say it as receipt. Again, the word is receipt. Again, the word is receipt. Okay. You already know the pronunciation of this word. How do we pronounce this one? Receipt. Okay. This is a tricky one, I know. So take your time. Think about how many letters does receipt have? How many sounds does receipt have? So say it slowly to yourself, listen carefully, and then give us your best count for both letters and sounds. What do you think for receipt? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think and answer. Go. Okay, time's up. Time's up, everybody. So here, great effort on tackling receipt. This word is truly a fantastic final, not the final, but an example for our session as it brings together several of the key concepts that we've discussed about the fascinating and sometimes tricky relationship between English spelling and sounds. It really highlights why practice like this is so valuable. So, yeah, let's break down receipt together, looking at the letters and the sounds and understand the explanations provided on the slide. So, first, again, the word is receipt. Yeah, this is actually our final word. Let me see. Okay, so this is actually our final word, no? So this is the last words, of course. Save the best for the last. So our word here, the best word is receipt. So we look at the letters first. How many letters does receipt have? Let's count it all. One, two, three, four, five, six, and seven. So we have R, E, C, another E, I, P, T. So there are seven letters. So that's a straightforward count of seven individual letters. No hidden letters here, just what we see. So there are seven letters. Now, how about the sounds? What do you think is how many sounds are there in the word receipt? Let us see. There are five. Okay, so still letters. The number of letters is higher than the number of sounds. Now let's break down what are these five individual sounds of the word receipt. So first, of course, this is where receipt becomes a perfect illustration of why we need to focus on sounds. Despite having seven letters, as you can see, when we actually pronounce receipt, we only produce five distinct sounds. So let's examine the explanation provided on the slide to understand why. Okay, the P is silent, L makes one sound, E makes one E sound. EI makes one E sound. First, the first sound is R. Okay, the first sound is the R sound from R. Simple enough. So how do we pronounce the R sound? We pronounce it as R. Again, R. No, very simple, very direct. Next, the we have the E sound. Again, the E sound. No, that one. Now, where do we get the E sound? So the short E sound, like in sit, this comes from the first E in receipt. This one. So that one, the letter E sound produces a short E vowel sound. So that's E. So this is E. Okay, that one. Okay. Next, we have the receipt. So we have the S sound, which comes from the letter C sound, because the letter C sound has two distinct sounds. It could either first the S sound or second the K sound. Okay, so here what was applied is the S sound from letter C. So here the C makes an S sound, not a K sound, because it's followed by an E. This is a common rule in English spelling. So if the letter C is followed by an E, then we use the S sound or the S sound. Next, this one. This one is, so this one, what you call it? Yeah, this one, we get to the EI sound. So again, here in the explanation, EI makes one E sound. No? So this one is a long E sound. This is another excellent example of a digraph where two letters making one sound. So the E and I together combine to create that long E sound, like in tree or sheep. So it's not two separate vowels. We do not say receipt, receipt. We say receipt. No, there's long E sound there. So it's one smooth long E. Okay? So that is the E sound. Next and the last one, we have the T, sorry, we have the T sound. Very direct, simple, very simple. Okay, T sound is from the letter T, no, the last one, the last letter of the word. So we pronounce this as t, t. So when we combine these sounds, these five sounds, we effectively have r, r, e, s, e, t, receipt. Again, receipt. Now, there are seven letters, right? But the letter R, we've already talked about that. E also. C, we also talked about that. EI, we're also talked. But the letter P, T was also talked about. But the letter P, where is it? It's not included in the sounds because the letter P, as mentioned here, is silent. Now we pay close attention to the letter P. So the slide clearly states that the P is silent. So this is a classic example of a silent letter. Even though it's physically present in the spelling, we completely skip its sound when we speak it, when we speak the word. So you don't say receipt, no, receipt. We say receipt. Again, it is receipt. So this P is typically silent in words derived from Latin that have PT at the beginning of the or the middle, like pneumonia, psychology. So the P is just there for historical spelling reasons, not for pronunciation. So again, the word is pronounced as receipt. There are seven letters, but five sounds only. So the single word receipt is a fantastic summary of several key points from our session today. First, what was mentioned is more letters than sound. It perfectly demonstrates that many English words have more letters than the sounds we actually hear. No, seven letters versus five sounds. Two, silent letters. The silent P is a prime example of a letter that is written but not pronounced. So recognizing these helps your pronunciation sound much more natural. Three, multiple letters, one sound. So the EI combination making a single long E sound shows how two letters can form one distinct sound, highlighting the nature of the vowel digraphs. So by analyzing words like receipt, we train our ears to recognize these patterns and our mouths to produce the correct sounds, even when the spelling might initially mislead us. So it's this active awareness and practice that truly helps you overcome the mismatches in English and speak with greater clarity and confidence. Okay? So this type of detailed analysis, as we've done with phone, know, and read, is precisely how you develop the phonological awareness needed to become a clearer and more confident English speaker. It's about seeing the puzzle pieces and understanding how they fit together to form the actual spoken word. Okay? So, our key takeaway here, everyone, as we reach the end of our first of our first subtopic on English pronunciation, This final slide perfectly summarizes it. English is often inconsistent. English spelling doesn't always guide pronunciation. No, it beautifully encapsulates everything we've explored today about the relationship and in the previous meetings about the relationship between letters and sounds in English. Again, English is often inconsistent. We've seen this throughout our session, whether it's one letter having many sounds, many letters making one sound, or those tricky silent and hidden sounds. English sounds doesn't always have English doesn't always follow a perfect predictable path. And English spelling doesn't always guide pronunciation. And this is a core challenge. This is the fundamental reality we need to accept in learning English. Relying solely on how a word is written can often lead us astray. So it's a challenge, yes, but one we are now more aware of. But here's the good news and the exciting part of our next session. We need a better system. So, International Phonetic Alphabet, or the IPA, emerges for our next lesson, because English spelling isn't always reliable, a reliable guide for for pronunciation. So we need a tool that is consistent, a system that focuses purely on sounds, and that's exactly what the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA, provides. It's the better system that helps us navigate these inconsistencies. So again, our next session would be the IPA, or the International Phonetic Alphabet. So, okay, everyone, that wraps up our very first subtopic on English pronunciation. I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for incredibly active participation, not just today, but in also the previous sessions. So, your insights, your questions, and your willingness to try out those practice words made this session really engaging and helpful for everyone. You've all done a fantastic job of observing, analyzing, discussing these key concepts or points about how English spelling and sounds work. So, what you've gained today is crucial awareness. You now understand why English can sometimes feel a bit inconsistent in its pronunciation, and why just looking at the letters isn't always enough. So, this understanding is a really important step towards speaking English more clearly and confidently. You're building a strong foundation for your pronunciation journey. Okay? Remember the core challenge. English spelling doesn't always guide pronunciation, but also remember the solution we hinted at, the IPA, for our next session. So for now, give yourselves a pat on the back. You've done a great work. Get ready for an exciting exploration of the IPA in our next session. I'm really looking forward to continuing this journey with all of you. See you next time. Goodbye and good night, everybody.